Shahram Akbarzadeh, a professor of Middle East and Central Asian politics at Deakin University in Australia, joins me now from Melbourne. Thanks so much for your time. No one's yet claimed responsibility for this latest attack, but Washington is accusing Iran-backed military factions. Do you think they're responsible for this?
Well, you're quite correct. No one has claimed responsibility, but all the indications point to Shia militia that are active in Iraq, and they have been sponsored by Iran. You have to remember that these Shia militia were sponsored, trained, and promoted by Iran as a way of challenging and pushing back ISIS out of Mosul and out of Iraqi territory. And those Shia militia are now really incorporated in a way in the Iraqi national defense. So, but they have retained a degree of autonomy, which is why the whole thing is very complicated. On the one hand, they're part of the state. On the other hand, they act as autonomous actors. Whether Iran has been behind this latest attack is not very clear. In fact, from the Iranian point of view, when they fired missiles at the Iraqi air bases that house American troops, they said this is our revenge for killing Qasem Soleimani, Commander Soleimani. And this is it. From our point of view, this is it. And Trump accepted that. So that would have been the end of the open hostilities between Iran and the United States.
Yeah.
So it's not very clear.
It doesn't, there's so much happening in Iraq at the moment, nothing really seems clear. But we know that Prime Minister Mahdi has condemned this incident. Washington has called on Iraq to protect its buildings. How does this now affect the relationship between these countries, considering that protesters are also calling for US troops to leave Iraq and the parliament have voted for those troops to leave?
This puts Iraq in a very difficult, almost an impossible situation. Iraq is really caught between a rock and a hard place, and there's every indication that Iran will be embroiled even more in the tension and hostilities between Iran and the United States. The parliament has asked for US troops to leave, but it's only a suggestion, and the prime minister is only in caretaker mode. So it's very difficult for him to enact that kind of an action. It's a very complicated situation, as you suggested.
Yeah, I mean, people actually have been demonstrating since October last year. They're calling for this change in government. They've accused the government of being corrupt, of being responsible for unemployment in the country. I mean, how likely is it to happen that this government will actually step down and make the changes and bow into the demands of protesters?
Well, the point is, well, if the caretaker government steps down, who is going to fill the gap? There is so much competition and rivalry between various Shia groups, and of course, there's a Sunni community in Iraq, which should not be neglected. So finding a compromise solution to this crisis is almost impossible. There are suggestions that there should be an election held. And I believe that Ayatollah Sistani, who is the Marja Taqlid, or the highest religious authority for the Shia community, has endorsed that call for election. But it's very hard to see how you can have free and fair elections in a situation where there is open conflict in the streets with rallies and protests. And it's really difficult to see how the police and security forces can provide safety for participants in the election.
Yeah, very difficult situation in Iraq at the moment. Shahram Akbarzadeh, live to us from Melbourne. Thanks so much for your insight and analysis.